consulting firms thrived and became multi-billion-dollar organizations, partly because knowledge and expert analysis were not easily accessible to most of the businesses, most of the organizations. However, AI is changing that completely. AI-powered consulting models are democratizing access to strategic insights, making high-quality recommendations and research available to mid-sized firms as well as startups at a few $100s per month and not millions of dollars. Hi, this is Pankaj Gupta from EthAum Venture Partners. We are a deep tech revenue scaler and fund based in Singapore with approximately 120 startups in our portfolio. Since market research and consulting space is going through interesting times, Oxbridge and EthAum Venture Partners wanted to brainstorm with the leaders and learn from their insights. We are thrilled to host a diverse and global panel to discuss how new age innovations, including AI, are transforming the research and consulting space. To start with the introduction, I would request our esteemed and diverse panelists to talk about their background and their expertise. If I may request Tiffany to start. Tiffany, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany. I'm the founder of Oxbridge Economics. I have 15 years of experience in quantitative economic policy and market research across academia and industry. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Tiffany. Really appreciate your time today. I'm sure we are going to hear a lot of great insights from you based on your past experience and background. May I request Bryan to go next, please? Bryan, a quick introduction.
Hi, my name is Bryan, and I'm the founder and director of RESILIENTECH, and for 30 years I've been working on back-end data, big data, and traditional software integrating with many services. And as the years go by, I integrate in with AI now. So that's kind of been fun for me to add AI to traditional engineering.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Bryan. And as Bryan was mentioning earlier, that he has seen the complete journey of AI. And I'm sure that he's going to bring up some historical information as well into this conversation. So really appreciate your time, Bryan, today. May I request Rayna to go next, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rayna Xu, and I am a technology director at Oxbridge Economics in charge of the AI product design in the company. And I'm also an assistant professor in information systems at Miami University. Yeah, but my research, I forgot to mention that. I'm also a researcher, and my research focuses on artificial intelligence, especially the AI application in the finance industry.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Rayna. Again, really appreciate your time. Being a researcher, director of technology, professor, it's a lot of responsibility on your shoulder. And I'm sure that brings a lot of diverse expertise also in this conversation today. Thanks a lot, Rayna. Matias, may I request you to do a quick intro, please? Matias.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to join such a distinguished panel. And thank you for the invitation. Well, my name is Matias Tombolini. I'm an economist, professor, and executive director of the Fundación Innovación con Inclusión in Argentina. My work focuses on technology, public policy, and economic analysis. Today, there rise the concerns about AI in research, especially around unverifiable data, consensus bias, and the need of validation and transparency is, I think, one of the points that I'm going to develop.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Matias, for your time again. And again, being a professor of economics and having depth into policy, I think it's going to be an interesting conversation and insight from your side as well. Now, I would request Becky, moderator of the panel, to introduce herself. Becky, please.
Hi, everyone. Becky Liu. I'm a research analyst, and I've been doing statistical analysis for over several years, covering areas of policy, healthcare, and education. I'm super excited to moderate the panel discussion and looking forward to getting more insights from our panelists as well as our audience.
Thank you, Becky. And I know that you prepared some really interesting questions for the panel. So may I request you to take those questions out and take the hot sizzling take insights from our panelists. Please go ahead. Floor is yours.
Oh, okay, thank you, Venkash. So it's our show. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We all know in recent years, we've seen a growing shift across academia, policymaking, and industry that the tools and data we've relied on for decades may no longer be enough. So the world is changing quickly. Markets, behaviors, and policies are more complex, more dynamic, and more interconnected than ever before. At Oxbridge Economics and in the work with our panelists, we've seen new approaches gaining traction, from using language data to tapping into real-time digital signals, and now integrating AI. These innovations are opening up insights we couldn't access before. That's why we're very excited to take this chance with our 4 panelists to explore how new data and the new methods are reshaping traditional research in economic, policy, and market contexts. To begin, let's step back and consider what traditional research has looked like. In many fields, especially economics and policy analysis, research has long relied on official, structured, numeric data, things like government statistics, surveys, and aggregate reports. So these are typically analyzed using quantitative methods such as econometric models and statistical analysis, which are built on assumptions of more stable relationships and historical trends. While these methods have provided valuable insights, many are now questioning whether they're sufficient for understanding a fast-moving and increasingly complex world. So to open our conversation, I'd like to ask all our panelists, what do you see as the main limitations of traditional data as well as traditional research methods? Tiffany, go first.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to start with my personal story. I worked 9 years in Hong Kong in Goldman Sachs and Hong Kong Monetary Authority. I resigned to start my PhD in a research company. Why is that? One main reason is that because even at these top institutions, I was constrained by limited official data and old-fashioned research methods. Let me give you 2 limitations from the economic research perspective, and I'm sure Rayna, Bryan, and Matias will add their technical aspects. So first, official statistics obscure ground-level reality. We need to wait months for aggregated government data, while real signals are happening at the individual and firm level in real time. Second, we are stuck with 20th century tools. We were trying to understand complex economies with basic spreadsheets and static models, completely missing the rich insights hidden in earnings calls, policy speeches, and real-time data streams. That's why I broke free to do research in wide ways, using data from web scraping, satellite images, self-built chatbots, designed experiments. Of course, econometrics and regressions are still the key, but text, image, and audio analysis are gaining importance. AI tools like large language models are also strategically integrated.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany, for telling us about the limitations of data. It's too slow, it's too narrow, and over-reliance on official statistics. So Bryan, what would you add from a technical angle?
Yeah, that's exactly right what Tiffany just said. Traditional data really fell into 2 categories. One was just numbers. Imagine numbers on a spreadsheet, or words, and we need to search through words. So we have a bunch of numbers and we have a bunch of words. And the questions that we could ask in the past were always about what's there, but it doesn't ask the why. And I think the new research is helping us ask the why. So by multimodal solutions, like when we add text natural language text and audio and visual into the data set, we now can add context to the raw data, to the raw words, to the raw numbers. And holistically, we now can have a much richer answer.
Thank you, Bryan, for pointing out that we need to turn towards like multimodal data, like data involving more formats, specifically audio, image, and also Tiffany covered that. Thank you for pointing that. And let's also hear from Matias. What do you see as the main limitation from your perspective?
Well, let me expand my own presentation before, because I was a victim of the quality of the data, because before this part of my life, I was Secretary of Commerce of my country till 2023. And of course, the quality of the information that, as Bryan and Tiffany mentioned, it is very poor in order to make decisions, to have decisions in real time. Traditional economic research methods grounded in statistical analysis, mathematical tools, and econometric models have long been essential pillars of our economic understanding. However, today we face significant limitation to make it necessary to either go beyond them or complement them with new tools. One limitation is the type and volume of data. Modern econometrics primarily relies on regular data, structured and quantifiable, typically represented in tables, as Ryan said, with single-point measurements. Yet digitalization has unleashed a flush and structured data types such as text, satellite images, and online searches profile with traditional methods are not designed to process efficiently. Far more traditional economic indicators tend to be low frequency, and lack spatial granularity. I have a lot of things more to share, but when I was Secretary of Commerce, we tried to fight against inflation in Argentina. And the limitation of the real-time data and the old structure that we use to analyze information and have decision and make decision and economic policy and develop economic policy, it was a real limitation to do a good job. So I think that the main limitation it's in the way that the Tiffany and Bryan said before.
Yeah, so Matias also saw the limitations of the traditional data regarding the volume, the low quality of the data itself. Yeah, and Rayna, like from your technical side, how do you see the limitations of traditional methods or data?
Thank you, Becky, for the question. Well, I'm a researcher in IS, which is also a business field, and I have conducted a lot of business research and read research published in business journals. And I saw many papers are increasingly adopting the advanced method for analyzing unstructured data used in economics or other business fields. And it's very surprising. I actually mainly heard that from Tiffany during our discussions that in the industry, this method are rarely used for market research or policy research. And I think that this is the key limitations in traditional method. The first one is lack of flexibility, because traditional methods are still using like following strict routines, and it's not easily adaptable. And the second one is that I learned that it also heavily relies on manual work, which are labor intensive. And because of the two limitations, the labor intensive and also lack of flexibility, there is a significant gap between novice and experts in accessing data and also like utilizing skills to analyze the data, essentially the analytical capabilities.
Okay, thank you for adding additional limitations as lack of flexibility and the intense labor workload for doing research with the traditional ways. So we've heard talk about a lot about limitations, and I believe there are more. What's emerging is a clear sense that traditional data, even though still valuable, often means new or more signals that is more important. So that brings us to how data itself is evolving. Today, researchers are increasingly, as Rayna mentioned, turning into non-official, unstructured, and maybe high-frequency sources like text, image, speeches, or audios, which offer more potential in research. So let's explore that further. Tiffany, I know you've been doing economic and policy research for over 15 years. So from your perspective, how do you see the new data helping us to uncover the economic realities that traditional statistics miss?
Sure. To me, traditional statistics are like looking at the economy and markets through a telescope. You see the big picture, but miss the crucial detail happening on the ground. So let me share 3 examples from my work that show how new data sources plus smart technology reveal what governments can't or won't tell us. Example 1 is Hong Kong's immigration story. The Hong Kong government only releases net immigration figures, completely obscuring the outward migration. But people leave digital breadcrumbs everywhere. I built a web scraper to track linking profiles of Hong Kong professionals, their location changes, job moves, and education backgrounds. Analysis showed a brain drain over recent years. Investment bankers to Singapore, tech workers to Vancouver, students choosing overseas universities. This new data revealed not just scale, but quality. Strategic access by exactly the people Hong Kong needs the most. Non-government statistics captured this, but LinkedIn plus text mining did. Example 2 is my favorite parking lot economics. Living in Boston, I regularly count cars at Macy's and Nordstrom parking lots to predict regional retail sales. When my husband, the data scientist and driver, takes 8 minutes finding a good parking spot, a complete macroeconomic data science analysis just by observing vacancy rates and vehicle types. Empty lots on Black Friday, recession incoming. Full lots with newer luxury cars, strong consumer confidence. This gives me consumer readings weeks before official surveys, when my former colleague at investment banks are still waiting for quarterly retail reports. And the third example is the Chinese mall analysis. Currently, everyone says the Chinese economy is struggling, but the underground parking lots of malls in big cities are full. Is this contradictory? I use foot traffic analysis, essentially counting arrivals at escalators on each floor. The discovery is that more than 80% of people go to food courts, while cosmetics, luxury, and higher-end clothing floors are empty. This means people are downgrading their Maslow's hierarchy, which means they prioritize basic survival needs over aspirational purchases. This is in nature another form of economic downturn. So these are my examples of new data and analytical methods in action. I'm particularly excited to hear from Matias, who has spent 6 years building a smart data hub for Argentina. I imagine you've encountered similar challenges with official data quality and have developed even more sophisticated approaches to capturing real economic dynamics using new data sources. So what has your experience been?
Well, thank you, Tiffany. Indeed, as you mentioned, from your experiences, the proliferation of microdata and the advancement with AI are transforming economic analysis by uncovering realities that traditional microstatistics often fail to capture. At our foundation, we see this firsthand. While we work with national statistics, our analysts also dive into and often isolated sectors of our economy. Collecting microdata gives us more accurate pictures of what's actually happening on the ground. Let me share a concrete example. Here in Argentina, inflation, it's still a very huge problem because the consumer index prices gives the information to set the new type of contracts for rent an apartment or determine a salary of the workers. So we have the supermarket price monitor we have developed, and this system scraps online supermarket listing as many other systems do on weekly basis, allowing us to track real-time prices changes every day in consumer goods. It provides something traditional statistics. Can't: speed, local precision, and clearing understanding of actual consumption dynamics. And you know, Argentina, it's a very big country with a little quantity of people living in each part. The density of the population, it's very low. So we have different movements of the prices in different parts of the country. Well, consumer price index, it's an excellent indicator, but it's national in scope. It averages wage prices across the entire country. That means many wage or rent, as I told you, adjustments, for example, are made using numbers that may not reflect the lived reality in a particular region or social group. In contrast, weekly microdata scrapping let us identify localized price shift, trends, break, and even abuses pricing practices. This kind of tool has analytical value, but more importantly, improves diagnostic for design of public policies. If a specific region shows an inflationary pattern that diverges from the national average, one size fits all policy may be ineffective or worse, counterproductive. Beyond the price monitor, we also work with other self-generated microdata. For instance, we analyze public transportation fares in remote cities, and we estimate sectoral productivity using data published by regional business chambers. This kind of information is valuable because it brings visibility to sectors and territories that often remains hidden in microeconomic averages. Remember, countries like Argentina and Latin America does not the quality of official data that you have in the developing world. In short, microdata allows us to shift from centralized and abstract view of the economy to a more detailed and decentralized one. On that embraces heterogeneity and respond to a real-world complexity. This not means replacing macroeconomics, but rather complementing it. When we combine both approaches, the panoramic and the granular, we get far more complete and actionable diagnostic. And most importantly, we create the conditions for faster, more targeted, and more effective public policies. So this is very important in my point of view, of course.
Okay, thank you, Matias. Yeah, I've never been to Argentina. I've been very interested in your sharing because, like, as you said, the two system monitoring, one monitor monitoring consumer price, the other monitoring public transportation. Given the limitation of data access, you trying to use other sources to really capture the trend of data. That's really impressive. Thank you for sharing that. And as we discussed, so we are seeking more dimensional, like real world data to capture the trends. And some will also seeking other types of data, like more complex, unstructured data, like image, text, and audio, as we discussed previously. And that naturally bring us to AI because traditional methods may not be able to analyze them. So when AI is now playing a growing role in helping the researchers to manage and make sense of this information, I would like to ask a question about how can we apply, or how should we apply AI in this research of economic policy and market research? Specifically, I know, Bryan, you've been working on cognitive AI for a long time and have developed very impressive applications with your robots. So many people may not be familiar with the cognitive AI. Could you just briefly, or can you talk us through about what cognitive AI is, what it can do, and how it will deal with the new complex and evolving data?
Sure. I think cognitive AI in general has two main pieces to it. One is the cognitive portion of it, which is the memory. Okay, so if we try to mimic human memory, we've got short-term memory and medium-term memory and long-term memory, and we can go and do research and get external memory. So we have all these types of memories that we can kind of blend together at different weights, at different times. Certain types of memories are more important than other types of memory, but they blend together to give us a whole picture. Okay. And so memory gives us this contextual continuity over time. What did I say in the past that was relevant? And then like external data kind of gives us this freshness, this fresh data, live data, in current affair data, and we can blend these together. And then we also have the linguistic parts of it. So what is the sentiment? What is the nuance? Read between the lines. The user said, A, B, and C, but they really meant D and E. But so you can't just look at the words a user says. You got to read between the lines sometimes. So those are also important. And AI is also extremely good, or generative AI is extremely good at pattern recognition. So find the patterns in the mess. So we got a lot of messy data from lots of sources and memory and this and this and this. Now with all this messy data from all over the place, find me a pattern. And that pattern would be very difficult to find in the traditional methods where we just have a bunch of numbers or a bunch of words out of context. And then sometimes users ask questions, but we do very bad. And this is across all cultures that we speak in high context, he, she, it. And when we pose those questions, they don't do well. So we have to be able to take all that context plus the user's question, rewrite the question with context, and then we can go search the problem. So AI is just wonderful at this cognition and linguistics to help to traditional data and answer questions that we could never answer before, see patterns that we could never see before, understand the questions in ways that we never could before. So yeah, it's awesome. It's giving us a lot more flexibility and power and more tools than we had previously.
Yeah, thank you for because we have time. Like, I know there is a lot to talk about cognitive AI, and also we're all interested in your robots, like utilizing this cognitive AI algorithm. It might be not. It's my like prompt question. So, do you have a specific examples like can share about like how does cognitive AI work with one or like typical data? For example, are you analyzing like image or audio about using the cognitive AI, or what types of data?
My experience is mostly text and audio, doing translations between languages. And so one of the tricks to the trade that I have is that AI does really well with immersion. So just like if you want to go learn Chinese, if you go to American Chinese class, you can only get to a certain skill level. But if you go to China and live 24/7 with families and you're going to the store and stuff like that, and all you hear is Chinese, your quality goes up at a faster rate.
Yeah.
I mean, your error rate goes down. And that's the same with AI. So we don't want to do everything in English and at the end translate the final output to another language. If you could do all the dynamic pieces together, the system prompt and all of the dynamic pieces that go into this, even during the AI, if you could do all that in the language that the user wants, the quality of output is better because we capture the nuance of the language better. Some things don't translate very well, but when the AI, quote unquote, thinks in the language and produces the answer in the language, the final result is much more culturally aware and smoother.
That's kind of interesting, yeah. And Rayna, I know you've also like working on developing AI applications in both the industry and in academia. So in your opinion, so how do you see like what is AI's capability in helping the researchers in the area in working with the complex data?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Before I answer this question, I find Bryan's concept illustration or cognitive AI is very interesting. I'm not an expert in this area, but I find this concept compelling, and it actually is enlightening for developing AI product for market research as well. Well, a few takeaways from the cognitive AI example is that I think the memory thing can be utilized to improve the personalization of the AI product. Utilizing the historical interactions between the user and the system, we are able to actually extract a lot of useful information. And the second one, sentiment. Well, when our product actually includes a chatbot which interacts with people, and we haven't included sentiment in that interaction. And by including that, it may improve make the product more user friendly. And yeah, the last one is the pattern. Well, we also recognize the value of large language model, and it is very powerful. It actually extracts patterns from a vast amount of unstructured data, and can be used in many scenarios. So yeah, that's my takeaways based on Bryan's response to this question. And in terms of how AI can be used in market research or business research in general, from my personal experience, I think well, it can achieve a lot that cannot be achieved using traditional or numeric data as shared by Tiffany, Bryan, and Matias previously. And I will use 3 examples. And these examples are my papers published in business journals and other papers that I find interesting and relevant to this discussion. Well, one of my research leverages the relational data to recommend the startups to venture capital investors, and we leverage the theory that the socially proximate VC and startups can actually collaborate better in early stage and also in later stage, can improve the rate of IPO or merger and acquisitions. So we leverage this and we use AI to model this complex relational data, like whether the venture capitalists are graduating from the same university as the startup executives, something like that. And it did improve the predictive power. So that's one example of AI application in business field. And another example is that I read an interesting study published in a top management journal. It utilized the textual data from CEOs' interviews and also their facial image to analyze their communication styles, whether they are dramatic, whether they are melancholy or stern, and then examine the correlation between CEO communication styles and mergers and acquisition outcomes. And interestingly, it finds that dramatic CEOs is less likely to oversee the acquisition opportunities. So that's the second example. The third, sorry.
I think it's an interesting conclusion.
Thank you. And the third example is the analysis of facial images and also examine the correlation between the facial attractiveness and the career success. And it finds positive correlation between facial attractiveness and also the early career success and also the long-term career success.
No, that's great. Do we have time? I forgot to mention something that is actually very fascinating. In the cognitive and linguistic, there's a concept called in psychology called progressive memory. And progressive memory has always fascinated me a lot more than all the other types of memory. And what it does is it mimics the how humans go through life. So as a human, you go through life, and when things are bad, things happen bad to you, you touch a fire and you get burned. Now you're going to have a reaction. You're not going to want to hit that, touch the stove anymore. Or you do something good and somebody says, "Oh, you did a great job." And that's kind of like this mental list of good things and bad things and these takeaways of your life. And it's constantly, moment by moment, being refined. So every single day, your list gets not necessarily bigger, but more refined. Okay, added to it. You take your new experiences, you merge it in with the old experiences, and out comes this new takeaway list. Well, you can do the same thing with AI, and it's just works fantastic. So what you do is you take let's just say 10 turns of a conversation, and then you extract out of that the what worked, what to avoid, a summary. These things go in and get merged in with the previous takeaways. Okay, and all that gets merged into a new list of say 10 takeaways, and those 10 takeaways get refined and refined and refined, and then that gets replayed for every interaction of the user. So for example, if the user says, "I don't like the color yellow because every time I hear the color yellow, I feel sick and I get PTSD and I go crazy." And then later on, the user says, "What color is the sun?" Well, if the AI says yellow, the user is going to get sick. So the AI has to know to dodge around the color yellow, either completely avoid it, change the topic, answer it in an abstract way, but don't say yellow. So it learns that through progressive memory, as that is something to avoid. And by being progressive, it ages. So the current bad things and good things have a stronger signal than the old things from a year or 2 years ago, right? We age, we grow as a person. So these takeaways, they grow and they modify over time to make that the response of the user more relevant to that user. And I find that is all these type of, I don't know what you call them, games or tricks to how humans behave, really can make something like a conversational robot not be so robotic and be more human-like. So.
Yeah, I really love what you two are sharing. Like first, Rayna's, your examples are really interesting. I'm super interested in the positive connection between facial attractives and their early career success. It's like kind of interesting. And also, as Bryan's mentioned, currently there are numerous AI tools in the market, but like most popular one are more like general, utilize more for general users. But like people are more needing more specialized AI. Probably if we can utilize this kind of like progressive memory strategy to train AI to tailor to certain needs of certain group, AI could be more beneficial to both the researchers as well as the other specialized users. Thank you for all your sharing. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Yeah, there are a lot of topics about AI. We cannot really cover all of them, but people are also talking about the limitations and concerns when utilizing AI in certain areas, especially in research or in decision making. So Matias, I know you've been like really interested in AI transparency, and you've think about a lot about the AI limitations. Could you share more about what do you think as the major concerns or limitations when we are using AI in the area of research or decision making?
Well, thank you. When AI is used to information decision, trusting, it's become a crucial challenge. We need to robust mechanisms to act as a kind of vaccine against fake news, which is going to be a very, very complicated problem. It is a very complicated problem against biases such as herd behavior or conformity biases. Regulation, in my point of view, is necessary, and democracies depends on it to protect the information market from pollution by algorithms that manipulate public debate. By investing in this self-correction mechanism, information networks can tip the balance in favor of the truth. At the same time, we need to help stronger scientific foundation for economics. AI offers tools to exploit the potential of new digital data, identify complex patterns, and make more accurate predictions. This can help address economic problems in their vast complexity and formulate more objective outcomes. Of course, AI can generate responses that do not align with reality or human expectations. This is addressed through concepts like reward hacking, where AI, by interpreting ambiguous instructions, can achieve technological objective without fulfilling the actual human expectation. This is how we refer to hallucinations. To counter this, the efforts are made to give AI groundedness, a reliable relationship between the machine representation and reality, and the ability to understand casualty. Mechanisms are being implemented so an AI model can ingest ground truth constants, label them as definitive, and incorporated them into representation space. This information can be easily globally updated, allowing the model to merge its broader probabilistic judgment with more specific ground truth evaluation for more accurate responses. Aligned with this, a fundamental path to building trust in the design information structures with external validation and the assurance of the uniqueness and reliability of the data. Some key and mechanisms to overcome the hallucination obstacle includes transparency and explainability, which is vital to understand how AI algorithms arrive to their results. Fairness. AI systems must ensure accessibility for all individuals, and their decision-making process are not influenced by any type of bias. This requires that the data be representative and the model design does not include biases variables. Human oversight control. Human supervision, for me, is essential to bring value and trust to AI systems. The interaction between human and machine should be conveyed the human perspective with automated recommendation. External validation and auditing is another point. Well, here we say companies and researchers at the forefront of AI must proactively collaborate with trusted experts in government-led audits. System external scrutiny is essential to test the deployed system. Additionally, cryptographic ledgers can be used to track the proliferation and use of models of system combining social and technological containment. Quality data for predictive analysis, it is necessary to collect and process quality data, clean it from duplicates, and handle missing information. Data culture and ethics, which is very important in our point of view too, and incorporating doxa and rule of hierarchies beyond explicit rules. The goal would be to teach machines the doxa, that is, the set norms, institution, and incentives that teach the difference between good and evil in human societies. AI could absorb a cascading pyramid of rules from international agreements to community norms and use them to govern its outputs. And finally, but most importantly, the redefinition of human dignity. A shared definition of human dignity is crucial for AI to understand our intrinsic value and to establish a non-negotiable red line if we are ever forced to compromise with machines that would establish a moral starting point. If the data current
Okay.
model, yes.
Yeah. I know, like it's a lot. Like, in case like everybody on the same page. So what Matias is covering is about like main obstacles about the hallucination problems of AI,
Yes.
including the transparency crisis of fairness, and which he thinks that we need more human oversight and control, and maybe need validation from external sources, and we require quality data, require some ethics regulation, and also the redefinition of human dignity. So there's a long list, because Matias has been studying this area for a long time. It's a lot. But to keep our audience on the main focus. So among the long list of principles or obstacles of the hallucination, Matias, which one do you think is the most critical one that either it's more like a major limitations, or is the one we think we have the most confidence about like solving that issue?
Well, we are working on our smart data hub, that it's a place where AI can go to search information that was validated before. So if you have a place with this kind of quality information, maybe you can avoid misinformation and fake news. My concern is what happened when the AI make research just reading the third-hand information and with no quality. If you just open the box when you work with AI and see how is the AI working with different sources, you will see that the sources that AI is using at this point, it is not sourced with good quality, and the quality of information needs to be curated by humans with our surveillance over this quality, in order to avoid the AI get conclusions that is not trustly for human beings.
What I'm getting that right now. So the quality of data is really the very concerning issue about here. So given the limitation of AI's hallucination, we have one last question. I'll just briefly cover that before we move on to the next session. I would like to invite Rayna. I know you've been like developing AI applications, and I think you also considering like how to solve or tackle the hallucination of AI. So from a technical point of view, do you see any potential solutions, or what are the considerations when you are developing AI applications?
Yeah, we do consider this, especially we are developing a product supporting market research and policy research, which may impact the decision making eventually. Well, I will say that it is a challenging thing to address the limitations of current AI, and that's what everyone is trying to do with like all the scientists and product managers and developers are trying to tackle this issue. So the solution, I'll illustrate my perspective based on my experience in developing the product at Oxbridge Economics. So one of our solution is to leverage the well-known RAG framework because the RAG, the retrieval augmented generative framework, allows us to generate response based on our own data. And so we build our own data set with filtered based on the quality. So we make sure that the data we have are of high quality. And then we retrieve the results based on users' query and then generate AI response only based on this retrieved results. So that's one of the solutions we are trying to, we have been used to mitigate this hallucination issue. But I will not say that the issue is fully addressed. It's still a ongoing thing in improving the accuracy of the response. And the second, is it like related to the product design considerations for our product? The question is,
Yeah.
So in addition to this hallucination issue, in policy and market research, the recency and timelessness is also important. For example, the policy changes rapidly. For example, the immigration policy in the US are changing frequently recently. And if we are, and also the federal interests are changing monthly or daily. So the timestamps for this information are very important, especially in the AI generated responses. So that's another design consideration in improving the accuracy and trustworthiness and also the transparency of the AI product. And the last design consideration related to this is the source tracking capability. Like we will need to allow user to easily cross-validate the information. And one solution we have been utilized is to combine traditional search engine and Gen AI chatbot. It's similar to the AI overview rolled out by Google recently. So on top, there's a AI summary, but follows is a traditional search result. So the user are able to cross-validate information. And we also utilize a citation map so that the user can easily check the source of information or the seminal report or the seminal policy, like by checking from the current document.
Okay, thank you for sharing the RAG structure to improve the quality of training data as well as improving like the way users can cross-validating their information. We see some improvement about solving hallucinations. And beyond that, I would like to ask Bryan, so from your perspective, do you see any potential solutions regarding the limitations Matias have mentioned previously?
Yeah, actually both Rayna and Matias are dead on, are right on. So let me, I just want to, okay, so let me just say this in my experience because I've had to deal with hallucinations for many, many years. So one is I want to correct, hallucination is not a feature of AI. It is a feature of generative AI specifically. Okay, so AI contains many, many types of models in the past and in the future that we haven't had. And generative AI is just one small subset that we happen to be focused on now. And by the feature and the mathematics of how generative AI work, hallucination, what we call hallucination, is actually built in. It is a core fundamental feature of how that model works. You cannot get rid of it. It is 100% impossible. So what is the cause of it? So the cause of hallucination comes in two reasons. One reason is the data doesn't exist. And when the data doesn't exist in the model, and the model is randomly producing the next word, right? When it produces the next word, it has every single word in every single language, all sorted order, and then it takes the top X number of them and then rolls the dice and picks a word. And that's why when you ask the same question, it can go down a slightly different path. But when it doesn't have the data in the model, it's still picking the next word. And it might not, you as the human might not like the answer, and we call that an hallucination. But the model doesn't know truth, it doesn't know logic, and it has no memory. It's just a probability pick the next word machine, like a Mad Libs. Okay, so the other problem that causes hallucination is data doesn't exist. And the second one is when data does exist, but it's in there multiple times with equal probability. So for example, if it reads a lot of documents, like 10 documents from the web originally put in the model, and it said the sky is blue, and then it read another 10 documents that said the sky is purple, and those are 10 times equal weighted, and then the user asks, what is the color of the sky? What's it going to say? 50% is going to say blue, and then you say, it's not blue. And you go, oh, you're right, it's purple. And you say, oh, no, it's not purple. Oh, you're right, it's blue. It's going to oscillate between the two. So hallucination is mathematically built into the system. So the question is, how do we reduce that from our expectations? And like Matias said, grounding is the key. Okay. So once you ground the data, what I always tell my friends and family is bring your own truth. Okay. Because the models don't have truth, you need to bring the truth. And you can bring the truth from the RAG system, from external sources, bring it in, and then the generative AI extracts, synthesizes, summarizes from that data. It doesn't need to go and go make up data or find a path. You've said, here's the data, and you will reduce the error rate or the hallucinations like 99.999%. Okay, it basically goes away. Okay, so I think that I think that's really the trick, is if you bring the truth and you use generative AI as the linguistic cleanup. Give me a summation, give me an extraction, give me this, give me an insight, give me that. So use generative AI as what it's designed for, but don't have it try to find the truth for you, because it actually can't.
Wow, interesting insights. Thank you for sharing that. I know we still have a lot to share about this topic, but we are closing to our time. So I would like to put an end for our current discussion. So so far during the discussion panel, we've covered limitations of traditional data and research methods, the promise of new data resources, and the growing role or application of AI, as well as its concerns or limitations and the possible solutions to the hallucination. Thank you all for sharing your insights, and I think all the audience as well as may have gained a lot from the discussion. So I'm now going to pass it over to Pankaj, who will be leading the next session. Pankaj, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Becky. I think you did a fantastic job moderating the session. You were able to extract some really interesting insights and key takeaways from all the expert panelists. And I think that we could have moved on for probably a couple of hours with this exciting, fun conversation. I could see the enthusiasm, the fun that panelists were having while sharing their insights. So I think that was quite interesting. Now it's a time to transition to the roast session. And we call this roast session because in this particular segment of the event, we request founders to present the solution of the company and get the brutal, honest feedback from other panelists and from the audience. And I know that today, Tiffany is going to share some business cases that utilize data analytics and AI. And she's also going to talk a bit about how Oxbridge is innovating this industry with their AI solution and services. So Tiffany, please feel free to share your screen, your presentation, and walk us through those business cases. And then please stay ready for all the difficult questions, interesting feedback, insights from other panelists. Yeah.
Erica, would you mind sharing the
Yep.
screen? Thank you.
Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
so the questions I hear most from prospective clients are, what you are doing sounds exciting, but I don't quite understand how it works, whether I need it now, or if this advanced work can actually move the needle for my organization. These are the right questions. There is a gap between sophisticated data science and bottom line results, and closing that gap is actually what we do. Our mission is to transform data into strategic advantage. We deliver advanced data science and intelligent systems guided by one principle: academic excellence, real-world impact. Today, I will prove it with concrete cases, hard numbers, and clients who have revolutionized their decision-making. Oxbridge Economics is a specialized AI firm that combines advanced data science with deep domain expertise in economics, policy, and market research. We help organizations, including governments, central banks, financial institutions, and NGOs, extract signals from massive, often messy data and translate them into predictive insights and strategic recommendations. We specialize in econometrics for robust modeling, machine learning for prediction, and proprietary AI that transforms both into operational decision systems. We operate globally: Boston, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shenzhen, serving clients across 3 continents. Our work has 2 pillars. First, our AI platforms. FinFast slashes research time by up to 90% by transforming millions of unstructured documents, reports, emails, and transcripts into a searchable, source-cited intelligence system. It doesn't just summarize content. It quantifies text through sentiment analysis, detects emerging risks, and delivers focused answers with full citation trails. So your team can stop digging and start deciding. The other product is FinAnalytics. It puts PhD and professor level econometrics into conversational point-and-click interfaces that are interactive and educational. So any analyst can run sophisticated models. We will dive deep into these platforms in dedicated webinars: FinFast in September and FinAnalytics in the 4th quarter of this year. The second pillar is our tailored solution for institutional clients, involving data analytics, modeling, AI applications, and system building for challenges that require fully custom approaches. Today, I will focus on the second pillar and prove our impact through 2 real cases: a restaurant chain that discovered their marketing was actually backfiring, and an HR department whose salary matches improved from 35% to 90% accuracy. But before I dive into those cases, let me show you who trusts us with their most critical decisions. Our clients range from government ministries looking for early signals of policy impact, financial institutions tracking market moves, risk, and regulation in real time, NGO and think tanks needing scalable analysis of unstructured economic data, and startups in healthcare, HR, and agriculture using our benchmarking and prediction systems. We are also backed by Asia's most competitive innovation programs: Hong Kong's Innovation and Technology Commission, Cyberport, Hong Kong Tech, HK Tech 300, and HK AI Lab. These programs typically fund only the top 1 to 3% of applicants. We are not building prototypes or research experiments. These are operational systems used in contexts where precision and trust are non-negotiable. This client diversity means our solutions work across vastly different data environments, regulatory frameworks, and decision-making cultures. That's why the case studies I'm about to share are not just technical wins, they are strategic transformations forged in different environments. Yeah. So here is the first strategic transformation I promised. A global restaurant chain was burning money on promotions, spending millions across dozens of cities worldwide with no idea what was working, what was failing, or why. They had all the pieces, sales data, customer feedback, market information, but couldn't see the pattern. Every regional manager had a different theory, but no one could prove anything. We leveraged the staggered rollout time to implement a difference in difference design, isolating true promotional effects from seasonal trends and local market conditions. We apply natural language processing to the thousands of customer comments, extracting sentiment patterns and performing unsupervised clustering for customer segmentation across different markets. Statistical analysis reveal heterogeneous treatment effects across demographics, geography, and local competition levels. Apologies. The shocking discovery is that their successful promotion was actually destroying brand loyalty in their most valuable markets. Affluent customers saw generic discounts as cheapening the brand and were switching to competitors. Meanwhile, the same promotion was building tremendous loyalty among first-time users in emerging markets. They were subsidizing customer defection in premium markets to buy low-value transactions elsewhere. As a result, they completely flipped their strategy. Exclusive premier experiences for established markets and value-driven growth campaign for emerging ones. We build them as a predictive monitoring system using machine learning algorithms that now catches these patterns before they become expensive mistakes. This wasn't just analysis, it was a complete decision intelligence system that transformed how they approach marketing globally. And the next one is our second case. A large corporation's HR department was setting salaries for over 2,000 job types globally, but their decisions were constantly challenged by their executives. Why? Because their existing machine-based matching was only 35% accurate. Imagine being the HR director trying to justify why you're paying a data scientist as 120K when the CEO thinks it should be 90K or 150K. You are making $1 million compensation decisions with coin flip accuracy. Careers, retention, and budget credibility all hang on in the balance. The problem wasn't just incompetence. It was a lack of data and also using outdated methods. They had no comprehensive salary database and relied on primitive similarity algorithm that matched jobs based on simple keyword overlap. For example, data scientists would match to database administrator just because both contain the word data, despite completely different skill set required and responsibilities. Our approach rebuilt their foundation from scratch. We scraped live compensation data from 50+ sources across local and global markets, creating the comprehensive database they never had. We deployed transformer-based models that understood job semantics, not just keywords, but actual function, seniority, and context. Our confidence score system flagged uncertainty match for human review, creating true human AI partnership rather than blind automation. So just within weeks, accuracy jumped and confidence soared. Accuracy jumped from 35% using the traditional natural language processing to over 90% with our AI agent. What used to take weeks now happens in minutes. But more importantly, every recommendation comes with explainable justification that executives could trust and defend. The impact is that HR directors stopped dreading compensation reviews, Budget planning becomes predictable. The system now updates itself weekly, catching market shifts before they become costly hiring mistakes. So this wasn't just automation, it was the AI accountability that restored confidence in one of business most sensitive decisions. Yeah, so the two cases show what's possible when you combine academic rigor with operational focus, turning complex data challenges into strategic systems your teams can rely on. At Oxbridge Economics, we are not just addressing data analytics problems and building AI systems, we are creating decision intelligence that institutions can trust and act on. Thank you for your time. If your data feels too complex or too chaotic, that's good. That's where we can do our best work. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tiffany, for this quick presentation. Let's take questions, feedback, comments from the panelists or participants. Bryan, Matias, or Rayna, or other participants, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Well, I'll just say that the two examples that Tiffany just showed were just fantastic, and that's exactly where my experience is, where AI does a great job. The combination of being more accurate and faster with verifiable or traceable explainable signals is really powerful. And when you combine all that, it really shows where AI is really advancing many disciplines today.
Yeah, we actually improved our design after I had the conversation with you earlier.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I didn't know that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bryan. Yeah,
my microphone was off. Well, it's amazing what are you doing, Tiffany and your team. We're trying to work together, but of course, from the perspective of governments, and I work on it, and these kind of governments that do not do their jobs in development countries, the challenge to have the things that you are developing, it's to link with the quality of data that you can process. So I think that you are in a right path in order to bring solutions to many institutions of undeveloped country that can give us more tools to do economic policy at the present and in the future, because we have to take decisions in real time, and in many times we don't have maybe the right tools to do it. So I think that it's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I like what Tiffany said. It's something that I've said in the past, this coin flip decision. And I'm seeing lots of companies. In fact, I just talked with some companies that also do this coin flip. They pretend that they're reading the data and they pretend that they're making decisions. But if you're only 35% accurate, you might as well just throw a dart on the wall, flip a coin, and you'll do even better than the 35%. So they're doing worse trying to interpret their data than not even just randomly make a decision. You'll even do better. So AI is really helping companies back their decisions with real data decisions, not having this randomness as much.
Yeah, and in response to Matias' comment, I think the cost of developing some tools or platforms is fixed or mostly fixed. So for undeveloped markets or countries, they can take advantage later on. I mean, the things are developed there, and you can use it So this is eventually some kind of democracy of AI. And in terms of improving the accuracy for less developed, the information or the research quality of the less developed countries, I think eventually we still need to give more input, as mentioned by Bryan, that we need to give some ground truth to it, provide more information based on their situation. But by doing that, we can definitely improve so in Matias' word is like authority of the information, but also the credibility of it.
Let me try to share with you some idea. Can you work at county level or province or state level with your company? So, for instance, I'm thinking about a county of province of Buenos Aires, or maybe a state of Argentina, not the nation, a province, one small province that wants to improve their process of decision making, how they make their decisions. So I think that if it's possible to fit this on a province that there is not so developed, that is undeveloped, that undeveloped country. So maybe there the challenge it's huge, but the opportunity to have a business case in government is it's very important, I think.
Thanks a lot, Matias. I also see there's a question from Lokesh on the chat. And Lokesh is asking, one of the things that cause problems for organizations to adopt Gen AI products is not only hallucination, but that they have to use another suite of tools to build guardrails to handle the hallucinations. Does Oxbridge platform help with orchestrating guardrails for handling hallucination? That's the question that we have from Lokesh. Tiffany?
I think Rayna is in a better position to answer that.
Go ahead, Rayna.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the interesting question from Lokesh. I would like to address the question from a technical perspective. So Tiffany can add from a business perspective later. Well, as I mentioned earlier, actually, in our product, we try to equip our tool with the source checking capability so that we allow user to easily cross-validate information. And as mentioned by Bryan earlier, it is nearly impossible to fully address the hallucination issue because that's embedded in the design of Gen AI. And so what we do is we combine traditional search tools. So we do have something similar to Google, but with our own data set. Users can search that and they can see a list of search results. And based on that, we also have the Gen AI chatbot answer and with citations. And also they can see, like, based on what sources we generate a response. And then they can click on the sources, and the section that we utilize to generate the response will be highlighted in the article. So that's kind of the guardrail that users can utilize to handle the hallucination issue. They can do the validation their own, because we can never rely on AI, and we can never defer the final decision to AI, and human judgment remain essential.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Generative AI, not AI. So
Yeah, Gen AI, because
generative
now,
AI has the problem.
yeah, because I have been doing AI for many years, and now everybody's talking about Gen AI, and AI now is referring to the general audience. Thank you for pointing out.
Yeah, you can even silly things like take the user's question, rephrase it in two different ways, ask the question multiple times, and then combine the answers and synthesize the answer out of it. That'll also reduce hallucination. So because you're nudging the generative AI down a different random path, but the truth might be in there somewhere, and then it finds the commonalities between the two results or three results. So the more signals that you have, the better the quality. And do you remember 2 years ago? Let's go back to GPT 3.0 days. Was that 3.5 years ago? Hallucinations happened almost every time because it was a closed system. But today, hallucinations are very, very minimal, right? It rarely happens today comparative to where it was. And in another year, it's going to get less and less and less. So I know people say hallucination, but in real business products, working with real data, it's not, it's a problem, but not really a problem. It's a manageable problem.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, Lokesh actually asked a follow-up question, kind of related to Bryan's point that the workflow may be changed using GenAI product, especially when hallucination happens. They will need to find out the issue and double check the accuracy of the answer.
Correct. And this is where I strongly suggest that you use Gen AI as the tool to do the linguistic cleanup, not to find the answer. You already found the answer through a RAG system, through other sources. You've already pulled in the truth. Gen AI is only there to make it clean, to make the English or the language clean and find the pattern in the mess. It's not to find the truth. You already brought the truth. And that's a really key point. AI doesn't do the truth. It doesn't find the answer. You already found the answer. It's just it's a needle in a haystack, and the AI it brings it out. It's the presentation layer. It's the last mile. But if you're just using Gen AI to find all the answers, it will never work because that's not what it's designed to do. It's a linguistic machine. It's not a truth machine.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Bryan, and thanks a lot, Lokesh, for sharing your insights in the chat section. Any last comment or insight from the panelists to Tiffany or the team? Okay, we have one more comment from Lokesh. Bryan, I agree with you that hallucination is a feature of Gen AI. But in one of my recent conversations with an AI expert, he mentioned that we always have had false positives and false negatives, even with traditional AI. What about this hallucination that is different from errors in traditional AI? Bryan, you want to take that?
I agree 100%. And that's an error. And whenever you have a system that has an inherent roll the dice, pick the next word, by definition, you rolling the dice, you will have a certain percent error. It's fundamental. So it's just how can we reduce the error, not how can we get rid of the error, because you can't. But how do we reduce it? And by doing all these mechanisms to bring in the data, you really can reduce it. And then we like others said in the panel here, the human in the loop, the continuous reflection, the RAG system data, the verification, the repeat the question and synthesize it. So we have all these tricks to do it. Even think about the most critical system in the world, like medical diagnosis, which has a lot of AI. Okay, so the AI is reading the MRIs, it's reading all these diagnoses, it comes up with the answers, but the human in the loop is the one that is using that as a suggestion. It looks at it and then makes the final decision. So AI is just a tool, but it should never be as of today, the prescriptive answer. This is the truth. Follow this and don't check it. always check it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Bryan. And Lokesh, I understand that you cannot speak because of the noise in your background, but really appreciate your thoughts in the chat section. Again, all the panelists, it has been a fantastic, extremely engaging session. And again, as I said earlier, I could see the enthusiasm in your responses, in the insights that you shared. And I think we have had a very sticky audience who stayed there, who listened to all the insights, grasped everything. And again, we have also we have live streamed the session, so it is also available on different channels of EthAum. So I'm sure we are going to get a lot of questions and insights on those channels as well in the future. Again, thanks everybody for supporting this thought leadership panel. Really appreciate your thoughts, your ideas, your insights, and let's keep connecting later on to see how we can support each other's initiatives and make AI even more interesting and exciting for the innovators like all of us. Again, thanks everybody for your time today, and let's reconnect later in separate sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Tiffany. Thank you,
Bye.
Bryan. Thank you,
you.
Matias. Thank you, Rayna. Thanks a lot, Becky and Erica. Bye. Take care. Bye, everybody.